Thank you again for coming. And so the topic is tiredness in chronic fatigue syndrome. Where does my energy go? This is the second webinar on the topic of chronic fatigue syndrome. And the first one was about understanding the cause. This one is about tiredness, and the next one will be probably about pain, and then other about assessment, of which the things that you see in front of you is something that I want to show you in a little while, but it is the test that could allow you from today to understand what's going on in your body, and by answering simple questions and then having a review with me and maybe live if you want to do it today. So how to defeat tiredness in chronic fatigue syndrome? We want to do that because we don't want to have any further delays in our successful recovery and have our strengths coming back so that we can do more things in life, which is basically what gets us going. And so I like to teach this by showing you that the way we understand tiredness is wrong, and why tiredness should not be fixed with chemicals, and the natural way to approach and treat tiredness. And so what you will learn in this presentation, you learn that why tiredness occurs, and so you can prevent it. You will learn to read what is happening in the body by observing your skin, your face, the color of your skin and face, and through that understanding what's happening in the fluids of your body. So you can source the cause of the tiredness and resolve it. And then you will learn also how with diet and herbal medicine, you can improve tiredness by transforming your body. So it's something that you can start doing from today. Just let me introduce myself very quickly for people that don't know me. So my name is Tommaso, and I'm a researcher and therapist in chronic fatigue syndrome based in London, UK. I regularly lecture at the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London and other institutions, and I have an online practice in London, in the UK, and Europe and USA. What I want to share with you today is the experience that I gained in the past 4 years researching chronic fatigue syndrome and helping people that suffer from it. We achieved quite excellent results with my client. And through that, I gained a lot of experience of not only how to resolve, but also how to support throughout the therapeutic period. So I want to start today with this image that it's a swimmer in a very nice and clear waters. And I would like you to keep this image in your mind and compare these waters as the one that are running into your body. So from the blood, from the interstitial fluids, all that make your body, because you know that your body is most likely made of, this is not probably a super accurate slide, but let's say 60% of your body is fluid. And the rest is denser matter coming from the fluid anyways. So you can see the slide says the 83% of the fluids constitute the brain, 83 the kidneys, 85 the lungs. So you can appreciate how much of circulation of fluid we have in our body. This is a more, hold on, maybe you don't see the title of these slides properly, apologies. So I'm gonna make a little nicer for you. This is the more complex slide, but it's the body fluid distribution in a more scientifically accurate way. So where you have the 60% of the fluids here and 40% is the rest, but then it gives you a breakdown of what are these fluids. And some are the fluids that are inside our little cells, so inside here. And some other are the ones that are running around like this yellow color there. Of that is going around, we have 25% is coming from the blood, is the plasma, and the rest is just literally fluid with a lot of organelles and little stuff inside. So again, let's refocus on this image. We are kind of a creature made of liquids and fluids. And this swimmer is telling us that our fluids are as clear and beautiful as this, and it's a thing that you can achieve. The point that I want to bring to you today is this. Sorry for the crude image, but the idea is that what if the fluids of your body instead are in this situation. So where instead of being clear, running smoothly, and all the nutrients are passing through easily, etc., you find a situation, we call it a muddy situation, where you struggle, the fluids struggle to circulate, they stagnate in certain area, they lack, they don't arrive in certain part of the body. And so we have these two situations, which are totally normal for us humans. But if the fluids are brought to these extremes, like the picture on the left, they could create problems that can become tiredness and chronic fatigue, or the actual chronic fatigue syndrome manifestation of symptoms. So I have some questions from after this, probably you have it too. So is it possible to achieve that, this clarity and cleanliness of the fluids? Yes, it is. Why do my fluids get muddy? And I will show you that in a minute. How does that relate to tiredness? You're here to learn just this, and as well as how could I fix that? So that's what I want to talk to you about. And I hope you understand that it's possible to achieve something like cleanliness, but we need to understand why fluids get muddy. So why do I experience tiredness and how do I fix that? So we want our body tissues. They are responsive, elastic, flexible, protected, lubricated, moist, at the right temperature. And am I just fine with what conventional therapy suggests when I have a problem like tiredness? So let's see this chart and understand what's the situation that we are always exposed to and what we actually should do instead. So on the left-hand side is what they tell you to do, let's say it that way. So sometimes they tell you to suppress your problems of pain, or tiredness, or brain fog, or whatever. And our point of view is always the opposite of what the expert will tell you, which is to understand and clear is what you should seek instead, not to suppress a symptom, but to understand its cause and then clear that cause so that you can get away freely from it. Let's see, another technique that is common is damage limitation. They say, don't do anything, just maintain a very slow-paced life, which induces a little bit to accept what you have with no solution. And I think we should actually go to the opposite side. So we should go to solve the problem instead, because I know the importance of self-pacing in chronic fatigue syndrome, but that will never solve the problem. And we need to, maybe in the slowest, gentlest way as possible, but we need to always have the mindset of solving the problem instead. Complex diets. Some other situation is where you've been given a lot of very difficult stuff to implement or to really eat. Instead, we propose in this webinar and in other webinars that I will do, always to keep it simple in the diet, and I will show you in which way. Then some other solution are the supplementation. Supplementation in theory is very nice because they give you some minerals, some nutrients that you're lacking of. But the problem that we have, if we look from the perspective of the fluids, is that we need fluids, we need waters to digest and implement this supplementation. But we're not running very abundant of fluids. We have problems with the fluids. So if the problems of the fluids is not solved, you can stuff in your belly so many supplements without having the results that you expect. Of course, some result will arrive because it's an extremely beneficial product, but they require your action and is not suitable for a person which lacks action because of problems of circulation of the fluids. The other example is the boosting of energy. You can say, oh, it's tired, so let's boost their energy and they will feel better. It's conceivable, but for us, we want instead to make the effort of living easier instead than pushing a person. It's like the swimmer, no? The swimmer is swimming in the mud and you want to push it out, instead of having the swimmer running in very clear waters, which is much easier to have your I don't know how to call it, your movements freely into the water. So make the effort easier instead of pushing through through this difficult situation. So my point is that most people currently suffering ME or chronic fatigue syndrome, and that I saw with my own eyes, are what I call power machines. And someone might know what I mean. And I give you a little example. These are just fake names, but the tests are actually real. So this triangle is, again, this is my way of understanding your situation. And I would like to point your attention on the lower right corner, which is all these red thingies. That shows if you have in your body pain or heat. Basically, it's a mark for hyperfunction that your body is trying to do at the point that it has experienced pain. But all these cases which are all chronic fatigue syndrome cases, you will notice that all these people are massive power machines, always in hyperfunction. Look, these are two, these are the two, these are the two. There's always a red dot. Sometimes some people less, some people more, obviously. But there's always something like that. And you can say, well, easy, people with the chronic fatigue syndrome experience pain. But that's a sign that the body is actually working. But there's something else that blocks it. And we will need to discover today what. So people are tired, not because they have no energy to give. We believe that people are tired because they have spent it, or they are constantly spending all the energy by doing things too much than what is needed, because other areas of the body are not responding to their inner power, or the inner power is obstructed, interfered with, or misled or misdirected. So the results that I notice with people in my clinic is that immediately by applying changing, thinking about the fluids, not to suppress, not to supplement, not to boost, but to clear the fluids, you had improvement in nausea, hangover feeling on waking up, brain fog, that happens almost in a week. You have improvements with pain. And in 1, 2, or 3 weeks, you start perceiving, some people more, some people less, that the body can transform, which is for me a fundamental aspect for chronic fatigue syndrome, because most of the people lose hope in the therapeutic success. Instead, there is, if you start believing that your body can grow out of it. And so you should keep doing it. So that's my point of view. When something works, never stop, continue and see the results. Because obviously we are transforming back the body from whatever happened before, a virus, a trauma, a difficult period in life that brought you to a point of exhaustion and constant tiredness that doesn't go away. But then when you experience through the program these benefits, you start thinking, oh, hang on a minute, I can actually improve here. And so, sorry for the silly drawings I made with my own hands, but on the left-hand side, you see what happens usually in chronic fatigue syndrome, where you have a good day and bad days, good day, bad days, good day, bad days, but you're always underneath the baseline of, I call it the tiredness. So you're always tired anyways. What you experience when you clean the fluids is that you can have good days and bad days, but you're on the other side. So a side that you can manage and you can start working on. When you had your trauma, when you had your crash, the first one, or maybe you went gradually, that depends, you went down into this area. So the people that I experienced through the process of fluids, they work on this area, which is the one you want to be, also because it allows you already to do stuff in life. So what are the 3 key points for understanding and overcoming tiredness? One is that the body in chronic fatigue is active and powering through. So don't think that your body cannot do. It can, it's just that we need to direct it properly. 2, that what makes the fluids and tissues not ideal to support this. Oops, sorry, that's what people can. 3, what makes the fluids and tissue better? So these 3 things is what we try to learn now, because we understood that the body can do it. There is a better way to arrive at the point that we want in removing tiredness. And then, so let's study what makes the fluid and the tissue not ideal and what makes the fluid and tissue get better. So concluding the idea of the in chronic fatigue, the body is active and powering through, but not delivering. You need to be aware that all the functions are on. You're not turned off, but they do not deliver as they should. They get misled, misdirected, interfered with, obstructed by a lot of things. How come? Well, the tissues are not responding. The fluids in the body are stagnant in certain areas, so they don't move around. They don't bring nourishment where they should. They don't bring the right temperature and you feel cold. You have lack of fluids, so you don't have fluids, so you don't have lubrication, so the tissue get atrophied and they lose function. Or you have a lot of tension in your body, which is based on the nervous system, obviously, and the tissues are contracted, which in turn can create lack of fluids in certain areas or too much abundance in some other areas. Or the fluids are obstructed, retained, interrupted. They are moving slowly, or they are too weak in pushing through. So let's look at this example of a client. As we say, the red means they are a power, they are experiencing a very hyperfunction of their bodies pushing through. But look what's happening here. This you cannot see, is just yellow and orange for you, but I tell you, this is a tension and this is dryness. So when I interviewed this person, she told us that she is hyperfunctioning, but she also has problem with tension and problem with dryness. In this way, you understand that even if I'm hyperfunctioning and I want my fluids to go and remove the cold, which is this one, or tonify my tissue, but I lack the fluids and I'm too contracted to allow that to happen. My nerves are really blocking the natural flow of the fluids. So when you see these things, you understand immediately, at least a therapist understands immediately how to operate on this. But simply thinking about the fluids, not thinking about a mysterious illness that is coming from whatever, from space. So look at this madness, because I need you to be aware of this. So if let's say that you have toxicity in your body, some areas are stagnant, as we learned now this term. And what you have on your skin, you have a problem that you have skin eruptions also, not only tiredness and all the other problems. What do they give you? They give you corticosteroids, which is madness, because what they do, they suppress the eruptions and skin inflammation. Good, that goes away, but they don't resolve the problem. And not only that, all the side effects and the waste from the elimination of these drugs is running in your fluids now, and you have to deal with that on top of your problems. Look at the problem from our perspective. Our perspective, a person with toxicity that have bad skin eruption, the idea is to drain the fluids through clearing the lymphatics, which are those system of vessels that draw away and not put in new nourishment, but also to draw away the toxins and the waste and all the chemical that has to be eliminated. You can clean the blood with different practices and nourish the skin by giving the right nutrients. That makes more sense, because you aid the inflammation process in the body. So the body gets angry, gets skin eruption. You aid it to do its course faster, eliminate what it has to eliminate until there's no more to eliminate. So not adding more stuff to eliminate, but removing helping the body to remove. We always have to work with the body. That's I wanted to just open a little bracket. So in the first example, they're working on hiding away the reaction to the problem. In the second, we're working so that the skin will not erupt anymore, as there is nothing more to throw out. Second point of the day was what makes the fluids and tissues not right. So here it is, a list that I tried to put together. If some of this is a bit complex, I'll try to go through and explain. But basically, when you eat something, you absorb a portion of it, but the rest you have to throw away. And either it goes out from the bowels, from the stools, or it goes out from the lungs, from the skin, so the sweat, the breathing. So the remains of the digestion, what is not absorbed, must be thrown away every day. If it doesn't go out, that's one of the problems, that it remains in the fluids, in circulation. Or it gets stuck in the body, which is a further problem. Poisons, so we're not talking about any more matter, we're talking about more something that is already in the fluid, which is, again, toxins from the external world that we breathe in regularly every single day in London, or the internal environment, which means instead that when you create your own chemical out of your emotions, out of your trauma, out of your daily changing of moods, so you can create toxicity internal by producing a lot of chemicals in reaction to certain things that happen in your life. So this poison can also be created from the putrefaction of the food waste that remains stuck in your bowels, or in the fermentation, which is a similar process of putrefaction, but in any case, it creates very bad matters in your body that it doesn't go away, but also it creates more toxins out of the process of fermentation or the putrefaction. Then your lifestyle, because if your lifestyle, lack of exercise or even movement, or your sleep patterns, they can influence your ability to eliminate things. Classic thing, if you stay sitting all day, of course your body is lowering those processes that are necessary to evacuate all these noxious elements. Then I listed also trauma and viruses, which is still another trauma, because the trauma is obviously from internal or external causes, can create a massive reaction in the body, which could cause dysfunctions. And the virus as well, because our body is in massive emergency and is trying to act in one sense. And that's why a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome are coming from viral infection as well, because they must have had some resources left, but then the virus came and they had to, because their power machine react to it, and then they lost all the energies. So what makes the fluids not ideal in the body? It's all this stuff. But as you can see, you can clear it with diet, with some lifestyle. And by clearing that, you make yourself stronger to also resist the other aspect of life, which are maybe more unpredictable. Regarding the food putrefaction, I just want to show you how it is possible to achieve things with foods by simply choosing the different type of foods. Look at an apple. An apple is a type of food that is fresh, is alive. When you take it and you eat it, it's just probably stay a few hours away from the tree, or maybe a day, but it still maintains its total quality. And when it's digested and destroyed by our body, and some stuff like the sugars gets absorbed, but the rest is thrown away, it's water and fiber. Its smell is none after it comes out of the body. But try to think about a steak. A steak is instead dead. It's already in the composition the moment you cut it from the animal. Ask for a lion. A lion will not eat like a scavenger dead meat. It will eat fresh meat with the bones and the blood. Not only that, we also burn it on the pan to make it more delicious for us. But regardless the deliciousness and the stimulus that the meat does, then you have this stuff running around your body. And most likely our body is super powerful and can deal with the sticky matter of the composition of all these materials. But it is a different situation than the one of the apple. And you understand that the smells are foul sometimes when you eat a lot of meat in the stools. That tells you that there's a lot of matter that still take a longer time to get eliminated than the one of the apple. I hope I managed to explain to you. So I explain this to you because if you have less material, it's less difficult to eliminate, you will probably be in a better position to clean your fluids than in the second situation where you have more and difficult stuff to eliminate. So this formula is that your vitality is equals your power, so your innate strength to do things, and minus the obstructions that you create yourself through the diet or other toxins circulating in your body. This leads us to the third point, which is, and the last point. So what makes the fluids and tissues get better? So there are foods that you can use, and I made a list here. Maybe you can save the page, but basically it's starchless fruits and vegetables because they will never clog you. Or vitamins, foods that stimulate your body by adding vitamins, which is again, vegetables and fruits. There are foods that contain minerals, that contain electrolytes or minerals already electrified, which contribute to the electrochemical responsiveness of the fluids in your body. And you need it because it's through the electrical components in the fluids that the minerals pass from one cell to the other, from the interstitial fluid to the intracellular fluids that we saw in the first slide. And then the fiber, because the fiber we call it the broom, a massive broom that clears your bowels. And then we have foods that you want to take that are non-stimulants, so that basically don't create an acceleration or deceleration unnatural in your body, so that you can always be aware of what's happening in your bowels and in your organism. And then, of course, foods that don't provoke toxin by themselves, so processed food, or as we say, the too much meat or foods that create too much putrefaction of protein. Essentially, the one in the picture. So a 3-week session on these foods will already produce radical changes in your body, because they remove the obstructions, and once the obstructions are removed, you can use that more energy available. I mean, the body uses that more energy available to repair itself, to heal itself. So it's like you clear and automatically you gain strength because your tissues get repaired. So if you remove the cloggings and the obstruction by choosing the right foods, you will promote elimination and you will feel more energized. Not with drugs that push you, but removing problems from the body. And when your tissues gain function, there will be gaining elasticity. You will have a different color, a different tone, a different responsiveness. Sorry, I repeated that. And these qualities are the one that makes you feel not tired. What can we do with the herbs? Since you're talking to a herbalist, so you want to know that. And so let's say that we realize that in our situation of life, we feel cold, our tissues are quite pale. Herbs can bring you warmth, can bring you nourishment to defeat the paleness. Sometimes I feel that my tissues are too relaxed, they're like collapsing a little bit. And herbs can give you stimulus to contract, like they make you cringe, some herbs. When you're very tense and contract yourself, you can have herbs that can stimulate to relax and release the nervous tension. Or if you've experienced swellings, you feel a bit damp and stagnant, we can have herbs that increase the speed of circulation and increase the drainage. It looks like a paradise of therapy because there is a herb for every type of difficulty that you're experiencing in the body. Herbal medicine do not clog your system. They are drinks, or they can be eaten raw if you find them fresh. They gently merge into the fluids of your body, and they change the tissues by acting on the fluids of the body. So for example, and I hope this example is to show you what is the way the herbs actually do this, which is fantastic. You can use it together with the diet and help you to go through the dietary program. Think about the pinch of salt in the water. The moment you put even the smallest thing, then you put your tongue in the water, you feel salt. Everywhere in the water is salty, a little bit more. If you could apply the actions like that of the pinch of salt in the water to the fluids of your body, you will profoundly change the organization of your fluids. and consequently of your tissues, of your organs, and how you feel. And that's what herbs do. They enter the body so gently, like drinking something, tasting something, and then they will change the way the fluids are, like the pinch of salt change the water in a saltier water. You can have herbs that can warm you, they can make you cringe, they can make you relax or make you tense. I have a question. So Nicole is asking, so basically you can prescribe the herbs that are right for how my health really is. Yes, every herb can be adjusted to what is the condition of your body. So if your body is dry, you can have herbs that resolve that problem. If your body is too tense, you can have herbs for that. So definitely yes. And you need an assessment, obviously, that it can be done even in this call, in this webinar. And so I hope I answer your question, Nicole. So herbal medicine can do just that. I want to give you another example. You're welcome. In testing session in the herbal medicine school, we do this thing called organoleptic testing. So you take a herb in your mouth and you record all the impressions that you feel when you drink it or when you taste it. And so imagine super astringent herbs. They make your mouth immediately dry, especially the tongue. Try if you find a petal of rose in your garden and chew it a little bit with your, put it in your mouth and chew it, and you will notice how your tongue will dry out immediately. That's the type of power that I'm calling you upon. This is what they do inside you. So if you use it strategically in the therapy with the diet, they can help you so much in achieving your goals. Cathartic herbs, I hope you understand what it means, but if you take the skin of the aloe vera, what happens to you? You have to go to the toilet. It's like herbs that open up your bowels and you need to go. So how magical is that? My favorite one is the Artemisia because when you taste it, you feel just for a minute or two, if you taste a little bit, it makes you dreamy. Your thoughts wander at the speed of light to some kind of a very weird thoughts. And it's a very powerful herb for other reasons, not just for that, but it can get you dreamy. So an example with the herbs, two couple examples so you understand so that we can proceed. So imagine your legs are swollen and you feel they are very full, they're getting bigger, kind of fluid retention, what we say. We say that the body is damp and stagnant. So what is the corrective strategy? Well, then you have to increase the drainage. So you need to probably support the liver to detoxify, because if the waters are stagnant, there is a buildup of toxins. But you have to just simply increase the circulation and increase the drainage, and that will work to remove the stagnant and your legs will feel better. Herbs that are suggested for that, have a look into researching the bedstraw, the sticky willy, or the echinacea. They all have very big drawing powers to clear the fluids of your body. Another example, the opposite. If you feel stiff, your legs, your body is painful, irritable, the skin is scaling, and you look very dry, and you also have headaches. That's what we call the tissue state of dryness. Another question was from Katie. Yes, they do rebalance the body. The herbs are designed for that. So in this case, for example, this person has an imbalance of dryness, and we have to do only one thing: try to bring lubrication there. So it could be oil, it could be water. So that you need to assess. Because by bringing the lubrication in the right places, you can ensure responsiveness, you can ensure protection and a good function of the tissue. So your power machine can actually deliver and have tissue that respond to it. Best two herbs for doing that, one is the marshmallow and the other is the slippery elm, which are usually taken as powders in water, and you eat them like a little porridge, and they really help you with bringing this kind of a gel, mucousy, very nourishing things in the areas that you need. So people who suffer from chronic fatigue symptoms have a powerful remedy at their hands, capable to adjust and reorganize the fluids of their body. So what is the link with tiredness then, which brings us to the conclusion of our talk, more or less, is that the fluids needs to fulfill the following. They need to fulfill communication, nourishment, protection, and drainage. So all of these functions here, and I put also the medical terms if you want to know a little bit, if they don't work, you will have pain. Imagine your fluids cannot communicate very well. The nervous system is trying to tell the muscle to act, and it doesn't communicate well because it's full of toxin, because they are obstructed, because they are lack of fluids. You will experience pain. You sometimes experience fidgeting. A lot of people in chronic fatigue have fidgeting of the muscles. You have mood changes as well because the hormones pass through the fluids as well. You have difficult balance of the water. So the communication is one important thing that passes through the fluids. The other one, most obvious, is the protection. The immune system runs through the fluids. In the stomach, if you don't have enough water and lubrication or mucus, you will feel burning and pain because of the acids, our own acids. Through the fluids run the nourishment, the foods, the nutrients. When you eat, everything gets destroyed, liquefied, and it becomes fluid. That's how it goes in places in our body. It doesn't go as a matter, it goes as a part of the fluid. And finally, the drainage. If you don't drain well, you have swelling, you have nausea, you have vomit, you have hangover feeling, you have pain as well, and atrophy and inflammation can ensue. So each of the above function is an expenditure of energy. The fact that fluids cannot unblock this being stuck is a continuous search for a solution and expenditure of energy. We constantly try and hyperfunction to do that because the rest of the body has not a proper performance. So tiredness can go away if you improve the performance of the tissues and the fluids. Tissue and organs will improve their performance as well, only if fluids flow and the quality is restored. So these are the points that I wanted to make today. So I hope this it got clear to you. And please, and you can ask me a question if you want. So Claire was asking, what should I do for swollen feet and ankles, but also dry skin? That's a very interesting question, Claire. So in the body, you can have both of the states at the same time. Because if you have swollen ankle and feet, that means that you are in a state of dampness and stagnation. But it means that the fluids are pooling. The pooling means that there's poor circulation. So it's quite logical that in other areas you are dry. So with herbs, they're never one herb for one action. Herbs have different actions that can go even separate ways. So you could use at the same time, for example, the Molson mucilaginous herb like the marshmallow, as we were saying before, together with the gallium or calendula, which is instead good for draining. So, but also they're both anti-inflammatory. So you reduce the inflammation, one is bringing lubrication and the other is removing the bad stuff. So it obviously has to be assessed and calibrated, but it can be done. So, and that's a classic situation where we find a lot of people with chronic fatigue syndrome. So you're there watching the webinar, you have heard how this works, and you could agree that the tiredness in your life, it came out of nowhere, first of all. That is frustrating and is not going away. And that's when it hits you that you have something wrong with this continuous tiredness. And then you don't see why it came and how to get out of it. But you have been shown now that to recover from tiredness is possible if you transform your fluids using dietary improvements, using herbs to support this change. And remember this picture. Remember our objective that is possible, is achievable to have clean fluids, and we want those. Of course, life is a journey, no? So you can accumulate a lot of things, but you can also re-clean a little bit and then continue to another part of your journey. So what I just showed you is the test system with excellent results already achieved with many different persons. Someone maybe can say something about this in here. A natural, safe approach that does not burden your fluids. And that's the other mega point, because it doesn't put you down. It makes you regenerate. is gentle, but is also deeply acting because it changes in the midst of your own personal fluids inside your body with the help of the herbs. So how to take advantage of this opportunity? I would say book a free assessment call, and I made available in my schedule a number of monthly free calls. They are only 30 minutes, but I think it's a good time to speak about a lot of things. And you can book one at the time that best suits you until they are available, and they are free. Why I make this available for you? Because I want you to be able to take a test that you will see now as a demonstration. Thank you, Kathy. Kitty is offering to speak about the stuff, and thank you. I would like you to say something. So you can take the test and discuss the results live with me in the call. Be mindful that I can take a maximum of only 3 calls each week because I want to provide this as a free service, but I have a clinic to run. And I want you to learn a way to get better again. I want to give this to you for free. And so you can get back trust in the natural therapy through basically through this system that is a recovery system that is safely supported and thoroughly tested with other people already. And when you get your results, that's my secret motive. Yes, you can tell more people about it, and that's what I would like you to do. So that's why this is free for you to just assess, learn where you want to go. Then if you want to jump in the program, that's another topic we will discuss in the call. But the most important thing that you take this opportunity and don't let it go, because it's free for you. So what the call will do for you, you will be able to explain in depth the main issues that affects you. You can see basically we will put the test in front of us. I will ask you the question, or you can do the test just before the call, and we can immediately learn how to resolve it, because you see my triangle where we can locate all your symptoms or your signs and understand what's going on. Then you will have a private time for free, so you can ask questions and talk about in-depth issues. We will look, obviously, go through your medical history and current medications, so you rest assured that all the important checks are done and in place before recommending learning strategies. So I will say that I want to give you the little link now, so you can maybe book it now, so it doesn't go away for this week, and maybe tomorrow or maybe Tuesday, we could really talk already with each other before we do some tests, maybe right now in the webinar. Thank you, Nicola, for your comment. And Katie, would you like to say something very quickly for us about how it helped you?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
perfect. I'm actually on week 9 of Thomas's therapy, and it's absolutely amazing. I had ME for 10 years. I tried everything, all different types of natural therapy, and in the end, I just resigned myself to that. This is my fate for the rest of my life, and the energy that I had left, which was very much was it until I started therapy. It works. It's amazing. The results I've had are truly astounding. Just try it. To a stage, you've got nothing to lose.
Thank you. So did you, how quickly did you feel that the benefits from the treatment?
Yeah, remarkably, even within the first week, my pain went, and that was in pain in ME. I've also got fibro as well, so that was just astonishing. And yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, obviously this is different from different people, and not all the people are the same, but I noticed that, for example, recently another client that she had improvement and she went immediately on the, do you remember my graph where you are in the lower graph, always start on the above the graph? She was immediately there, even though not yet performing as in the past, but it's only 7 days into the therapy. So that I can see the link to click. I put it in the chat. Let me put it again. Sorry, Maxine. Here it is. So what what you're gonna do at that link, you're gonna basically see this calendar here, where you can choose the date and then book a time whenever I'm free and whenever you are free. And then you just choose if you want to call in a Zoom call, which is nice to see each other, but we can even do on the phone. And so you can book your time and we can talk. And then I might contact you a little earlier to say if you want to run the test by yourself, or there's no problem, we can run it together during the call, just to save a bit of time. You do it before we have more time to talk. Yeah, so thank you, Katie. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So now we reached the quick live session. So if